The LA Times reported it, the Kerry campaign and the Democratic National Committee complained to the Federal Communications Commission, to the Federal Election Commission, didn't go anywhere from there. The story came out on a Friday. Over the course of that weekend, and you can actually track, again, in observation, Daily Costs, another source, MyDD, Talking Points Memos, started talking about what to do. The interesting thing about this debate is that it involved a lot of tactics. What should we do? Let's write to the FCC. Let's sign petitions. Let's do a national boycott. Within the span of the first 48 hours, in continuous conversations about what works, they decided to focus on boycotting Sinclair Broadcasting. So one guy on a Monday set up a website called boycottsbg.com or .org, I can't remember what it was. And there they started for another day to talk about what to do, and they decided let's focus on the local advertisers. That's where the money comes to the local stations. Pick up the phone, call your local advertiser, tell them about this, and tell them you won't support anybody who does this. The next thing somebody says, look, I've worked for years in local broadcasting. You shouldn't talk to the station manager. Call the advertising manager. Somebody else says, be very careful, be very polite. They don't know what's going on. They have no idea. It's not their fault. Inform them about what happens. Somebody else called and said, we've been told that this violates the federal elections law, that we're electioneering. Are there any lawyers out there to help? Here's a lawyer from this and this who says, no, it isn't, and here are the sites. Here's what you should be telling them. Somebody writes a script that has all of the names of the advertisers in all of the local locations. So you can look up your location, identify the advertiser, and identify their number. Somebody else writes a script of what to say. By Thursday, stations are beginning to are beginning to get call from advertisers and beginning to complain. Here is the slightly different representation of the same data. The line is Sinclair Broadcasting stock price. Essentially, what you see here is that at the first report, the response is very slow. This is when you get the Democratic establishment trying to vote action, still very slow. This is where, these are the days on which the boycott actually get organized, and there are first news reports about it. This is the next Monday, the stock opens. This is Tuesday at 9:30. Sinclair says, oops, stolen honor, we were never going to show that. And then it goes down. So this is about collective action. And particularly I wanted to tell it because it's not just about signing a petition, it's about collective problem solving. Right? It's the characteristic of the text, and here again, to get the text analysis, to get to be able to read the transcript of the interaction is critical, because you would miss that what people are doing here is they're trying, and somebody else comes up with another solution, and they're debating the particulars of what's feasible. So no, not everyone a pamphleteer, but we're also not intellectual lemmings. The structured web offers more visibility to more people in accreditation and filtration clusters, relatively free of the financing constraints on speech, and emphasizing what's intensely interesting to active users who link and read, not what is moderately interested passive consumers. Fostering investigation and irreverence because we don't know what to trust. Strong see for yourself ethic, greater practical capacity to organize. Lastly, I want to emphasize this, which is to say, I'll be done in a minute. Lastly, it's important, of course, to recognize that politics are not all about politics, or at least formally what's politics. So much of it is about cultural symbolic manipulation. Richard yesterday spoke about nobody going beyond the top 10 results of Google. These are all snapshots from the top 10 results for Barbie on Google. So you've got Barbie Liberation Organization, you've got Adios Barbie, you've got the Exposed Barbie Uncensored, and you've got etc. So this is a very different fact that a little girl can stumble over when encountering Barbie. And if you think this is interesting, try Googling Kirk Spock. What you'll find is the top results are slash culture, which was completely anonymous and unknown 3, 4, 5 years ago to anybody other than people who actually either participated or were really funky studying it. And so, again, the question of what aspects of culture become visible and what signification is possible is completely altered by these. And as I saw that Google, you never go before the top 10, it's important to recognize Google doesn't have a set of editors sitting and saying, here are the things that are nice and clean. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
Yes, it is an extremely difficult job to discuss your presentation because, like your book, it's a wealth of information, data, stories, anecdote, and delivered with such enthusiasm that it's very difficult not to feel dizzy after finishing it. And two, I'm already convinced. I really think that the internet revolution in the age of Twitter, Google, Wikipedia is going to change completely the way we do political science. It's going to change the objects we are working on. It's going to change the data we are using. It's going to change our methods, and it's going to change the way we publish. So, of course, I can but agree. The third point, it's very American, the way you do it. American in the sense that you have such a creed in the virtues of individual freedom versus state regulation. It's un-French. And two, because of the uncomplexed manner in which you are normative. For you, it's not only what things are, it's what things should be. It's obvious. And the fourth difficulty for me is that I'm not a specialist of internet, information, or communication, so I'll speak about what I know best, the sociology of political participation. So what about your thesis? Your thesis is that now, I skipped the economic part, but it's part of it, we are in a networked information society, a networked public sphere, and for you, I quote, it's an opportunity to that can enrich democracy, freedom, and justice in our society. It makes people more autonomous, more active, interactive. It's peer-produced. There's more information. People are more participant. All that is good for democracy, if I follow you. And I'd like just to ask some questions. First, is it necessarily moving towards more equality, more freedom, more and better participation? Maybe it's not so simple. So first, it would be about the equal. It's like in Orwell, Animals Farm. It seems that some animals are more equal than others. If you look at the global internet flows, well, you see very clearly that something like 80% are in the rich northern countries, even though Asia is moving up. There is more users connected in New York than in all Africa. Even if you look at the difference between France and the United States, France is less than half of the households that are connected. In the States, it's over 2/3 by now, something like that. So there are differences. And there was Pew made a survey just after the presidential election, a very interesting survey, and it shows that 40% of all American adults went online for political news during the campaign, the presidential campaign, and just it also gives some points about inequalities. Maybe we should discuss that. Men go more than women, 49 versus 40. Young more than the elderly, 58% below 30, 12% after 64. The white go more than the black, 46% versus 29%. Of course, the educated, it's 13% for those who are not even level high school and 70% after college. Income, it's even worse. So there are inequalities, and in France, even more. The second thing is freedom. Is it automatically moving towards more freedom? Freedom in both sense, non-market and more freedom. And just there, I would ask you a couple of questions about the power of market and of state. As for the power of market, I'd like to go back to the book of Boltanski and Chiapello about the spirit of capitalism, where they show that capitalism has a fantastic